Geopolitics is always a big issue, but never more so than at the moment. 2024, the year of elections, saw incumbents thrown out almost everywhere, and even incumbents thrown out without there being an election in many countries. So it's been a tough year. People are unhappy. 2025 will see some of these new incumbents making big changes, and nowhere more so than the United States, a deeply polarized political society. And yet, despite all of the things that have been going on there, it seems to be in great shape. So I think the US strong growth and exceptionalism will be important. Trump's geopolitical stance, and particularly his tariff policy, will be a major factor throughout the year because we won't know which way he will twist and turn. In the developed world, inflation has been falling. Interest rates are set to fall. The question is, how much further will they decline? So geopolitics, particularly from the United States, the wars and conflicts which erupted in 2024, let's hope we get the outbreak of peace in some of those really horrible conflicts in some cases. Let's hope that they at the very minimum recede into something approaching peace.
وبالنسبة للاقتصاد الأمريكي، ما هي توقعاتكم بالنسبة لأثر سياسات دونالد ترامب الاقتصادية على الاقتصاد الأمريكي، وكيف تقومون برصد هذه التوقعات المستقبلية في ظل ربما غموض هذه السياسة حتى الساعة؟
So given all the uncertainties, it's always important to understand what you can predict, where your view differs from the market, and don't spend too much time where it's completely unpredictable. And, you know, that's something we have to recognize. If the uncertainty does get great, then we think, right, you know, don't take too many chances. But with Donald Trump, yes, he is unpredictable from day to day, and specific actions can come out from the blue. You know, people in your world get up in the morning and see all these tweets and so forth, and that will continue. But there are themes. There are themes, for example, of deregulation. There are themes of a repeal or reversal of some of the climate transition policies. There are themes of tax cuts, or at least no tax increases. Those are themes that are reliable. When it comes to tariffs, we take the view that the tariffs will come, but they won't be as big and they won't have as big an effect as you might expect. So determining exactly when he might, you know, wake up one day and decide to impose 20 or threaten 25% tariffs on Canada and Mexico, which really came out the blue, you know, that sort of thing, you just have to take it. It will come, and when it comes, you have to work out, will it happen, and what are the impacts?
وماذا عن ملف التعريفات الجمركية؟ إلى أي مدى من المتوقع أن تؤثر على معدل التضخم أمريكيا ولكن أيضا عالميا؟
So we've done a lot of work trying to fathom out the impact of these tariffs. And our general view is the impact on US inflation is modest. I mean, you hear the much oft-quoted statistic, 15% of imports are 15% of GDP. Well, that's total imports. The tariffs won't apply to everything. I mean, iPhones, they will be exempt. Services are likely will be exempt. When you take account of the exemptions, it's not 15%. In addition, that's the share of GDP. Well, the Fed's target is for consumer prices, and big chunks of consumer prices are not in GDP. Rent, for example, which is a big chunk of the consumer price index. It's fairly big of the other measure. So that means there's a share of prices that the Fed looks at. It's a smaller percentage, and it's a one-off. And the Federal Reserve are very used to looking through one-offs. Go back to Trump's first presidency when he imposed a lot of tariffs and look at the price of goods in level terms, you can't see any effect. So I think it would put prices up. If some domestic manufacturers respond by raising their prices, then it's a little bit bigger. But ultimately, it's a modest impact. The damage from tariffs, I mean, long term, as an economist, I've got to say free trade's a good thing. So it's not a good thing that he's imposing tariffs. But the main pain, they will be on the exporting countries. They suffer lower demand, lower margins. It's bad news for them.
فبالتالي ما هي أبرز الدول المتضررة من هكذا تعريفات جمركية؟ أكيد الصين على رأس القائمة، ولكن ما هي الدول الأخرى أيضا التي ممكن أن تتضرر؟
So China is the obvious loser from tariffs. Their share of imports to the US has declined. Some of them have been rerouted, but that's being approached as well, and they'll lose money on that rerouting through Mexico, Vietnam, and so forth. It's a big issue for Europe. The motor industry is one where some of these tariffs will be focused. you know, it's a pretty competitive business, and if someone puts a tariff, even of 10% on your market, you can lose your margin out of the window. So I think it's really, and particularly for industries that are struggling, so the conventional motor industry is struggling, even the EV market is struggling. So any further blow to that market that's struggling will be very damaging.